we have a number of other Hall of Famers that will be revealed and some current NFL players. Over the next 30 days, you're going to be shocked at some of the players that we're going to ink to a deal with us to be ambassadors. And you'll be shocked.
Cryptocurrency has obviously grown over the last 5 to 10 years. Ultimately, what made you want to get into cryptocurrency? What made you interested in it?
Well, I was invited to speak at some wealth management conferences, and I could see that, some of the wealthiest families in the world and second, third, fourth generation, that they had a great deal of interest in cryptocurrency. And I would say myself, I'm no different than the other people. I'm a little apprehensive from the beginning, but the more and more information I got, and when you can start to see the type of wealth that's being invested in cryptocurrency, that, it's a matter of having a balanced portfolio. My life, I like to be balanced. And in business, I like to be balanced. And to me, I just think that, I don't want to be the old guy that's yelling at the young kids. There's good information out there. And I do believe it's another way that you can be able to grow your portfolio.
And there's been talk about Bitcoin. There's been stories about how that company is dealing with some issues. So what's the biggest difference between Unicoin and Bitcoin?
Well, we actually have assets behind it.
Yeah.
So that to me is the number one difference. Number two difference is you're going to get an opportunity to be part of a fund, potentially paying you a dividend. And they don't have anything like that at Bitcoin. To me, even as far as talking about cryptocurrency, I like to talk about, because I don't like to bash people, and I don't like to have the other forms of crypto into my conversation. I understand what you're trying to do, but for me,
right,
I like to talk about the things in Unicoin and the people around Unicoin and the reason why I got involved.
Of course, and for those who are not sure about getting into cryptocurrency and have some questions about it, what advice would you give for those who are looking to get in, who are looking to start cryptocurrency?
Well, get some advice from friends.
Yeah.
Surround yourself with people that have a lot more knowledge about the situation than yourself. And then also, what do your finances look like? Be realistic. Right now, can you afford? Because if you can't afford, to lose it, then you need to be a little more conservative. But if you do have extra cash out there, it's on the sideline like a lot of people, and you're looking to make an investment, talk to smart people. There's a lot of free information out there. And if you don't have someone in your circle, then, Google. I know I stay on Google. Mm-hmm. And then I also just keep some young, smart people around me. I like to be the dumbest guy in the room. So people have explained it to me. And now I'm not as fearful as I was 9 months ago or a year ago.
And where do you see cryptocurrency going in the next, say, 10 to 15 years?
I think 90 to 95% of the companies that are in this are going to be on the sidelines doing something else. I believe it's going to be a handful of people, just like when we went to the internet and you used to get the message, "Oh, you've got mail." Yeah. That was the beginning of crypto.
Yeah.
And then you could see all the internet providers, they start getting through, they start running through their money. And especially when you're not backed by anything, eventually, you're going to need to be able to live up to what you've told your investors. And when you don't have a physical asset, when you don't have company backing it, it's going to be hard to do that. So I look for a lot of these companies to disappear.
Definitely could see that. And I have a few more questions for you before I let you go, just switching subjects here a little bit. Along with what you're doing with Unicoin, you actually launched a podcast last year talking to some of the top wide receivers and legendary wide receivers. It was called Wide Receiver One with Cris Carter. How is it to kind of pick the brains of guys like, Steve Smith Sr., Mike Evans, Jarvis Landry? How is it like talking to those guys and getting to know them a little bit?
Well, most of the people that I had on, I know fairly well,
Yeah.
and it presents for a pleasant conversation. Steve Smith Sr. I mean, he was on there saying things that he typically, wouldn't say. But to me, anything that I'm exposed to, I try to expose, to my circle of friends, and that being either Hall of Famers or other wide receivers, and even from the crypto game, we have a number of other Hall of Famers that will be revealed, and some current NFL players. Over the next 30 days, you're going to be shocked at some of the players that we're going to ink to a deal with us to be ambassadors. And you'll be shocked. You'll be like, I talked to Chris. He didn't tell me that, but you're going to be shocked by some. So I always try to get, those involved around me in the things that I'm involved in, and trying to put positive things out there for them. That's why I had the wide receiver podcast. There's no position that I know better than that. And then even as we started with Unicoin, I brought some of, the people that I know, Hall of Famers and others, over to be a part of the team.
Absolutely. And staying on wide receivers, one of the things that stood out in this year's NFL draft is the number of wide receivers that were taken specifically in the first round. And specifically, with you being an Ohio State alum, we saw Garrett Wilson and Chris Olave taken in consecutive picks. Have you had a chance to reach out to them by any chance? And if so, have you given them any advice?
Well, I was actually at the draft, with the NFL, and I've met them before. Been very, very fortunate to be close enough to the program to be around the kids over the last couple of years. But I'm just going to tell you, man, the best is yet to come. We got 3 or 4 kids still on the roster that are going to be first round draft pick. Marvin Harrison's son, he's going to be a sophomore. He had a big Rose Bowl. And we got the one kid from California who broke the Rose Bowl record. I mean, he might be the best wide receiver in the nation. But as far as those guys taking advantage, I love to see Ohio State now has a more balanced offense that, I take a lot of pride in the wide receivers we have at Ohio State. Before I went to Ohio State in 1984, wide receivers weren't going there because they only ran the football. So for me, I helped change that paradigm, and very, very proud of it. And it's only going to get better because we got better throwers of the football. But, I look for them to make impact where they are, that being with the Jets and in New Orleans. I like the situation with the Jets because I like Kyle Wilson, his arm, and he can throw it. And that wind on the East Coast, you want a guy to have a cannon arm, and he's got that. In New Orleans, Jameis is coming back off of a knee injury. So, but the combination of him and Michael Thomas Jr., Buckeyes all around there for the Saints. So, the Saints situation is always special when it comes to throwing the football. They've been one of the most prolific throwing teams the last 15 years. So I'm very, very excited about their future. Ohio State does a good job of prepping our players for the next level. And sometimes we, as former Buckeyes, play a greater role in it. We have a very good program. It's operating at a high level, and I expect them to get on the field and immediately get positive results from their transition from college football to being elite pro football players.
No doubt about that. And along with you playing at Ohio State, you also spent your majority of your NFL career with the Minnesota Vikings. The Vikings are a team in transition. They have a new head coach, new general manager. They have some pieces there to where they can make a run in the playoffs. But ultimately, what do they need to do in order to get over that hump, beat the Packers in the NFC North and make a run at the Super Bowl?
Wow. They did have some success under Mike Zimmer.
Yeah.
And I think right now, if you look at what they're doing offensively, I mean, because they've been able to throw the ball, and Dalvin Cook's one of the best dual running backs that we have. The offensive line's been a problem. They don't match up well against the Green Bay's front line, and they don't match up well against the Bears' front line. And then from a secondary standpoint, like the Packers have just had their way going against our secondary. So unless we get better performances in those two positions, it's going to be hard to beat Aaron Rodgers and the Pack. And the Bears, I expect them, they got another Buckeye that's quarterbacking them. I expect the Bears to have some say in who wins the North also.
Of course. And the last question for me before I let you go, you have been a contributor on Good Morning Football, and it was just recently announced by Kay Adams that she's leaving. So that leaves Peter Schrager and Carl Brandt as the original host. What are your thoughts on Kay Adams leaving, the impact that she made on that show?
Oh, Kay's great. I mean, they're going to suffer. I mean, she's great. I mean, she's a baller. She understands the NFL, understands the players. She's got really good relationships and connections. She's a great communicator. That's one of the best shows in football, and it's hard to replace, that type of talent. I know that they're looking, but when you cultivate and develop talent and then you lose it, but Amazon is a big time player with the Thursday night package. It's something that she had to do. She'll be in the NFL family for a long, long time, but she is a star on the rise. And I think the whole country will start to see that.
Absolutely. I totally agree with you. Well, Cris, thank you so much for your time. I really enjoyed talking about Unicoin with you and some of the other topics in the NFL. Thank you again, and continued success to you.